Hi there, this is James Valvis, and I'm going to be reading a poem today. Some stuff about the channel first. I've decided that I'm going to split up my commentary and my poetry, not because they don't match very well, and sometimes they will, and I'll put them together when they do. But I thought, I would leave the poems mostly to themselves and just introduce them as poems rather than going off on rants or whatever about whatever topic I was talking about in the poem, and do a separate commentary for poetry. For things other than poetry or poems that are not mine or whatever else I may choose to do. In addition to that, in addition to splitting up the poetry and the commentary, I'm going to hopefully in time be able to get some film, movies, even if it's just, taking captures of the sunrise over Lake Sammamish or something, and I'll be doing that in the future as well. So I got plans for the channel, and I'm really, hoping it does well. In time, I'm going to transition away from Facebook, not be spending as much time there because it's a time suck for one reason, and for the other reason, it's become so extremely negative. I have a hard time with it sometimes. It is so negative. It's especially been bad since Trump became president, because a lot of my friends are progressives, and if they like poetry, chances are they are progressive, and they see the world in a way that I just don't see it that way. I just don't see the world as this despairing, horrible place when there's an R in the White House, and this wonderful, life-affirming place when there's a D in there. It's just not the way I view the world. Anyway, so I wanted to say that, and I wanted to say to you, happy Independence Day. It's an important day in the nation, but I don't particularly care for this holiday. And it's not that I don't love my country, because you're probably not going to find a more patriotic guy than me in these cynical times. But I just don't care for the holiday itself. I don't like loud noises, so I don't like fireworks, and I don't like big explosions, and I don't really care for big events. And the food's okay, but not necessarily my favorite. It's not like Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday. So it's just, along with New Year's Eve, it's probably my least favorite of the holidays. But I do love my country, and I'll talk about that somewhat when I have the commentary in the other post. So this poem I'm going to read today is called Americana Night, and it was published in Poem back in, I think, not too long ago, 2014. And it's based on my time in the military, and what eventually transpired, because ultimately I ended up leaving the military and meeting my wife and having a child, and she would join the choir, and then every year in the choir they would have Americana Night, and they would sing American songs, the Star Spangled Banner, and God Bless America, and things like that nature. And every time at the end of this, they would ask the veterans to stand. I would never stand. And would try my wife and my daughter, because my father-in-law was also in the military. He was a Marine, and God bless him for that. And he would stand. Of course, he would stand. He deserves to stand. But I just could never bring myself to stand because it just felt wrong. I was, no one should make the mistake of thinking I was some great soldier because I write poetry about being one. I was a mediocre soldier. I wasn't bad. I got out honorably. It wasn't nothing that I did that was incorrect. But I wasn't I wasn't Audie Murphy, that's for sure. And it just so happened that I slid in right after, for the most part, Desert Storm. I actually joined the military at the height of Desert Storm. I joined the military the very night. I signed the papers the very night. I don't know if anybody remembers this. The very night that Saddam Hussein put our airmen who had been shot down over Kuwait and Baghdad or wherever we were flying. He put them on TV, and their faces were all cut up, and some speculated that they'd been beaten and tortured, but chances are they were just, all messed up in their face from crashing. But a lot of people were very angry about this. I was one of them. You don't like to see your fellow countrymen made to bad talk their country, but with a gun to their face. So I joined that day. I was going to join anyway, but it just so happened that I joined on that day. But by the time I got out of basic training, the war was over, and so I never actually had orders for Saudi Arabia to go right away, but they were rescinded because things were dying down there. So I ended up going to Fort Sheridan, Illinois, of all places, I spent a few years there, basically working as a desk jockey and a mail clerk at what was known as a country club post. That was basically, they sent people there to retire in the Chicago area. So you had quite a few of brass that had never achieved very much in the way of clusters or whatever, and they would go there and they would be attached there for the last 6 or 8 months of their 30 years of service, or they would be sent there as almost a punishment. It's like this is military Siberia, where your career went to die. And so I was constantly processing people out into the streets. That was my job for a good portion of the time I was there. It started to bother me after a while, especially since around this time, it was the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall had come down. Iraq had been an immense success, and Schwarzkopf was taking his victory laps, and we were, Bill Clinton was saying, we're at the end of history, and we don't need all these military people anymore, and get rid of them. And so they were looking for ways to get rid of all kinds of soldiers. People who had done 14, 15 years were looking to, they made a career of the military, or thought they were making a career of the military, and they were being shipped out and sent out into the world without much of a way of plans or a future out there, because they had some military occupation, especially in MOS, that just didn't translate into the world, and now they were going to have to go out there and find their way as 38-year-old former military, without who had worked in logistics, shuffling toilet paper around or something, and now they were going to have what were they going to do? They're going to stock shells somewhere or something, and it bothered me a lot, and eventually I met the woman who would become my first wife, and I was madly in love with her. I was just absolutely nuts in love with her. But she had a wandering eye, and on a military post, there's just a lot for her eye to wander to. And I just thought, wow, if I don't get her out of this smorgasbord, this buffet of men, I'll never be able to keep her faithful. And so I decided to get out. Of course, that didn't work at all. You can't really run away from that kind of problem. But we did, I was not a great soldier, and I always felt a little guilty about, taking on that veteran thing. Even though on my bios, to this day, I haven't been in the military a long time, a quarter century now. But I still put it on every bio. It's just something I'm proud of. I'm proud of having served this country. I love this country. Most of what's good in the world is because of this country. I believe that. I mean, you can thank England for some things, and you can thank Greece for some things very early on, and you can thank Rome or whatever. You certainly can thank the Catholic Church for a lot of good things. It's going to be a popular thing to say around some people, but it's true. But the United States of America is just a wonderful place. It's not a perfect place, but it's a wonderful place, and it deserves to be respected, and it deserves to be loved. And I'll get into that more later. But anyway, let me read the poem. It's called Americana Night. It's based off, again, my sister's, my daughter's choir events, and I hope you like it. Americana Night. Every year, Sophie's choir sings Americana songs for veteran family members. The songs are sung honestly, without irony, as only children seem capable of these days, not yet having learned to roll their eyes about others, dabbing theirs. Ostensibly, I'm one of them, a man who enlisted the very day Saddam forced out pilots, dazed with cut-up cheeks, to disown their country. I then spent a tour shuffling papers across a desk, sending men to peacetime unemployment. I remember their desiccated eyes as I filled out the forms, punched in the SIDPERS codes, noted the wife, 3 sons. Man after man, I returned to Ohio, Arkansas, Nebraska, nowhere. Men who couldn't be beaten in the jungles of Vietnam, the deserts of the Middle East, Grenada, Panama, those who toppled the Berlin Wall and stood 30,000 against North Korea's million-man army, but who now wrung their headgear with calloused hands and stared at shined boots. The songs are sung for them, God bless America, my country 'tis a thee. I listen, but when the vets are asked to stand, I do not rise with the others. I honor them too well to honor their betrayer. This was James Valvis reading his poem, Americana Night. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this poem. And God bless you. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.